Thank you, Lori. Hi, everybody. My name is Ricardo Perez, and I'm an Inclusion and Engagement Coordinator for the Office of Emergency Management. I'll have Camille introduce themselves, too.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Camille Millard, and I am an Emergency Management Coordinator for Larimer County. I specialize in preparedness and resiliency.
Okay, so Camille and I are going to share a little bit about kind of the efforts of September National Preparedness Month, and then highlight that we're going to do a proclamation here in Larimer County as well for Emergency Preparedness Month. But we want to share a little bit about the activities and the events that we have been doing, since the beginning of the year and now up until August, and then share a little bit about the things that we're going to be involved in within events and activities in September. But before that, I want to share some numbers. So since the beginning of the year and up until August, the Office of Emergency Management has participated in about 29 events that are either workshops, presentations, or just community events that we're doing outreach and hoping to encourage folks to be prepared and be informed around emergencies. So around 11 of those 29 have been preparedness workshops or presentations that we go in the community or with partners and share a little bit more about what we do as an Office of Emergency Management and then how folks can be a little bit more informed or prepared. And then the other 18 have either been those community outreach events or specific preparedness activities for public safety. But yeah, I just wanted to share those numbers. And then before we go into some of the activities and events that we're going to share about, I wanted to highlight some of the ways that the Larimer Emergency Telephone Authority has for the community to be able to sign up for emergency alerts. So LEDA 911, who's the Larimer Emergency Telephone Authority, has multiple ways for the community to sign up for emergency alerts. Through keywords that folks can sign up for specific notifications about emergencies, signing up through nocoalert.org that they can put up to 5 locations to receive emergency notifications. But then they also have this application called ReachWell that we've shared a little bit of information about before, but that's a way for folks to receive the emergency notifications in more than 100 languages. That folks just download an application on their smartphone and then they're able to kind of select more than 100 languages to receive those emergency notifications. So it's just another way that LEDA has, the availability for folks to sign up for emergency alerts. And then the new piece is DefLink. That's another service just like ReachWell that folks have to opt into, but it's a way for community members to receive accessible emergency notifications. So people that are hard of hearing, maybe deaf, or maybe have some literacy components, some considerations to think about that way. That's a good way for folks to be able to sign up for those accessible emergency alerts. But the Larimer Emergency Telephone Authority has a lot of ways for folks to sign up, but it's just something that we're promoting at these events or these presentations that we're wanting to share with folks. But and then I think Camille's going to share a little bit about Dare to Prepare community education program, and then we'll go back and forth here.
If I can pause you just a second, I just wanted, before I forget, I know we're short on time, but I have been to a lot of community events over the last couple of years. And every time I go, whether it's in Estes Park or Loveland, you guys are there. And members of the public always come up and tell me how engaging you are, how that was the best table or booth in the whole area, and how much fun and how much they learned and didn't realize these things were happening in Larimer County. And your enthusiasm and your passion to reach out and to educate folks and engage them is infectious and phenomenal. And I just wanted to, just before I forget, just to say how much I appreciate that, and just job well done, and just give you a lot of kudos, because you're ambassadors for Larimer County, but you're also helping people reduce their risk and be more resilient, and maybe help them save their life because they're more prepared. And I just wanted to make sure you knew my heartfelt gratitude, because I love hearing that when I'm at these events. I try not to hover around you all when you're there because you have some cool things at your table. But I have heard this consistently over the last couple of years, and I just wanted to say thank you and commend you for the work. So thank you. In front of your boss, by the way.
Well, I hope we get to continue to bring that infectious energy to Dare to Prepare. So Dare to Prepare is the new community education program that we kind of briefly introduced at our last work session. Its official name, Dare to Prepare, is a 7-week course that's starting September 14th and goes into October 26th. The idea with the 7-week course right now is this is the first iteration. It's really meant to get public feedback on it, and then it can, from then on, going to be moldable where we can offer it in the 7-week version, we can offer it in a 2-day weekend version, we're going to try to offer it on a hybrid version if people just want certain modules, like they really just care about the civic engagement, which I'll get into each module in a second. The civic engagement plus disaster preparedness, then they can reach out and just pick module 1 and module 5. We really want to make it more buildable because I think in the past, education programs have kind of been one size fits all, and no community is one size fits all. So we're really trying to make something new here that's a little more community centric. But right now, this first 7-week course is going to be offered at the Larimer EOC in Johnstown from 6 to 8, but we're aiming for like 6 to 7:30 with that last 30 minutes to continue to build that social capital aspect of like conversating, and then we're going to jump into each of the modules. So module 1, the base idea with module 1 is that it's all about an introduction into disaster science and disaster management and basic steps of preparedness. So how to build your evacuation kits, what your specific considerations should be when you're considering an evacuation kit, pet preparedness. So kind of a brief overview of that. Module 2 is, we're calling it Disaster 101, that goes into the specific history of the disasters that's happened here in the county, why it's important to learn about those disasters and how those lived experiences are what is going to prepare us in the future. And then also talk a little bit more about what we specifically do as emergency managers. Throughout all of these public outreach events we go to, we get this question all the time: what do you guys really do? Even when we meet with HOA boards. And I think the biggest thing from here on out is to make people really understand what our team is here to do and the type of resources we have available to them. Our third is a mixture between Lori's favorite topics, chaos theory and complexity theory, and why those are important, but also Aaron Titus's how to prepare for everything. So this module 3 is going to be a unique module in that the whole course, we do kind of want to cap it at like 25 to 35, but that specific module is going to open up to the whole public again because we can hold about 75 people in the how to prepare for everything format. And again, that's the goal, is to just continue to build that social capital aspect, get neighbors to meet neighbors, so that module 3 opens up to the whole public, and then 4 through 7 go ahead and close back down just to the class. But the goal is then you kind of have these first couple of classes, you've built relationships with the students or the participants within the first modules, and then we open up to the whole class and the whole community, and we get them in, and then we go back down to just our students again to go on to what I like to call the soft core section after this. So the first 3 are very disaster preparedness prevalent, but the last 3 I want to start talking about the community skills that help make a resilient community. So module 4 gets into community building. So we're going to talk about how do you build community, what are ways to get involved in your community, and why community building and social resiliency is so important. And the goal with each of these is a little lecture, a little activity, and then have guest speakers come in, because I think what we've learned from all of our educational courses is the presentation format doesn't really hit the way we want it to, and lived experiences and stories matter more. So then module 5, we get into civic participation. So you're going to build your community, then we're going to help you learn how to participate into your community and bring specific resources into the module based off of the area we're in. So this first week, because we're in Johnstown, we'll try to make it Johnstown specific, but also Larimer County, since this is the first section. But the goal is then, well, if we offer this in Fort Collins, we're going to pull Fort Collins resources in. If we do a course in Berthoud, then we're going to pull Berthoud specific resources in, to kind of get community involved with their specific community. And then after module 6, we go to, you're going to build your community, participate in community, and some people want to be leaders in your community. You don't always have to be a leader, but we're going to talk about leadership and why leading without authority, especially after a disaster, why that's an important skill to build. Because after disaster happens, the true first responders are the initial community. It's going to take a second. So we want to create leaders within Larimer County who understand and recognize what's going to take to initially start recovering while we wait for resources to get there based off of the situation. And then our last module is kind of a graduation ceremony, slightly also bringing all of the nonprofit resources in to give them a second to pitch why they should volunteer with them in hopes we kind of start to rebuild that volunteerism culture here in Larimer County, as we've seen that kind of die off in the last couple of years. So this 7-week format is the traditional format. The goal is to make it more buildable again to each community.
Camille, 1 second. So for that 7th module, one of the things that we heard about the most from the CERT program that we used to teach was that people would get all trained up and then they'd never really be called or utilized. So really the purpose of that 7th module is to say, if you are interested, here's some different groups within our county that you could get involved in, and then they can get involved throughout their organizations, and they have the liability protections. They also get to go out more often on doing some projects. So it was just a good way to kind of bridge that gap that we had.
Exactly. So our next so that's Dare to Prepare. That's really like the educational aspect to preparedness. But we talked last year about Larimer Connect's Community Hub, and that's that map I have in front of you. Just some updates on that program. We are sitting at about 17 hubs, and that's all of those dots located throughout the map. But specifically, we had some funding where we were able to get sheltering supplies stored at some of these hubs. We offered it to all 17. We had about half of them say, yes, we would like sheltering supplies. So those are all those locations in red. And the sheltering supplies idea was essentially it's enough materials to get them through 24 hours to 48, hopefully, before the Red Cross or Human Services is able to get to them to start self-sufficient communities. So that includes, we have blankets, we have first aid kits, basic beverage services, so like coffee and something to be a little bit comforting for those communities. And it's just to let them know, like, help will eventually be on your way, but here's how we can start building personal responsibility between communities and what we're able to bring with our services. So somewhere in the middle with that. So we had about 9 hubs agree to take on the materials and store them properly. And that was really exciting, again, and I think it just involves and shows within this hub program that this isn't something we just made and forgot. Like, we're actively investing into these communities and continuing to build relationships with those community champions who have stood up and wanted to take that forward motion within their community, especially around disaster communication. So a lot of them have gone out of their way to put up boards, and they have QR codes that they put up daily with the information that we send out. Big Elk Meadows has taken a really big step with this. Bobby Clevenger there, just a big shout out to him. He is so excited about this program and has really run with it. So it's just exciting to see the community involvement from both us here at OEM, but what we're able to accomplish with our individual community members. So that's what I have on the big side of the two education program / also like community building, and we're going to jump into the resilience assessment after it looks like we have some questions.
Yeah, I had one, but I think I saw Commissioner Stevens' hand, and I didn't know. Commissioner Cavales, did you have your hand up too? Well, I'll go with Commissioner Stevens.
Okay. So this is great work. My first question is, with the Dare to Prepare, do you have a lot of people signed up for it already, or?
The sign up actually just went live about a week ago, so we're still rolling and getting signups on that. It's going to be a rolling sign up process, so I've sent it out through all our hub networks. We're promoting it on our social medias. So the goal is, yes, we're just still viewing those signups as they come in.
Sure.
Yeah, so we did a first beta test in Red Feather, and that was just a smaller North 40 beta test up there I wanted to make sure that I feel like the information needed to somehow both fit rural communities and urban communities. So I wanted to check with our one community member or one community group in the rural interface about how does this feel like redundant to you, or does this feel like new and worth your time? And I got pretty good feedback. A couple of changes I've made since that feedback. So that was our first beta test. And the second beta test is opening it up a little bit to more of the urban interface and seeing how they resonate with the material too.
And is it meant to be an in-person event, so there's no virtual?
For this first session, no virtual, but the goal is to make it as accessible with virtual options as possible. I just really want to check out the material and make sure it's hitting the way I think it hits.
Sure, no, I just wanted to say, maybe some people might have trouble getting to the one location. And then, is there an application process, or is it kind of, no, it just says, okay, scan here for the application, so I didn't know if there was like, you had to write an essay or something like that.
No essay, we just, on the application process, like I mentioned, it is buildable. We want people to know. I hear 7-week course and I feel intimidated. So you can select which modules you actually want to participate in, and then they have blurbs on that. So it's just getting me to know what my numbers are for each week.
Perfect. And then just a question about the community hubs. So with the community hubs that turned down, that taking the supplies, was that a storage issue mostly? Was it?
For some cases, it was storage. For some, it was just no interest within the process. But we did offer store. So we bought a couple of like storage containers for some of the community. So for those that came back and said, you know what, storage is an issue, we said, well, what can we do to solve that? And then upon that, they were like, actually, we just aren't interested, so.
Okay. It seems like in some of the communities that are more urban, maybe not as probably necessary, there might be, if there's a
Well, actually, I would
target
say that they're more needed in the urban
Oh,
areas.
okay.
And the reason for that is because when the whole reason why we created this program where we're sending out shelter supplies is we had that bomb cyclone that really hit the I-25 corridor, and we ended up having to have a shelter up in Wellington, and we had one down in Loveland. And Red Cross obviously couldn't get out because of the blizzard, and you have more people who are coming from I-25 into the shelter, or if you're in an urban area, you're going to have more people who are impacted. So we'll have more people who need the shelter supplies, but they're not going to be able to get it without us having the caches in different places. Now, in the rural area, they're more cut off, but you're going to have less people too, and they're also used to the weather a little bit more. So mostly they have generators and they have the ability to kind of shelter in place. So I think in the urban areas, we do have kind of a bigger problem with shelter, not problem, but bigger challenges with sheltering.
Oh, that's interesting. I just thought proximity to a target might be, like a helpful, but thank you for explaining that. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Commissioner Kafales.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Camille and colleagues. How will you accommodate the needs of Spanish-speaking folks or people whose language is not, their primary language is not necessarily English?
So we actually got all of the Dare to Prepare materials translated in Spanish. So this first session will just be in English just because I'm the instructor on it, and Ricardo's going to sit in on it and see how I'm teaching the program, and then he's going to take it and make it work for however he wants to teach the program. So that's all of our materials will be offered in English and in Spanish. Ricardo has generously offered to teach the course also in Spanish. So we do have plans to make sure it is more accessible. Right now, we do only have the availability for English and Spanish, so.
Thank you.
So first, just some personal experience traveling with a newborn and a toddler and getting caught in a snowstorm on I-25 at Trinidad and Trudeau, where they shut down the pass in Raton, and us all getting shuffled off, and all the hotels are full, and we're all sleeping in the pews or on the floor in a church, and there's not enough food and water and blankets, and so I can understand some of the urban areas needing these caches because everyone was scrambling and the snow was above, your knees, and, having a newborn, worrying about if you have enough water to drink. It's, I think it's 6 weeks old, I think he was. So it was something that I always kept in my mind that, always have something in your car. So we have a lot of things in our car all the time. And it's sometimes my kids look at me like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it only takes once for you not to have something. So I appreciate the thoughts, and I certainly will advocate in that, in my district. I see a couple of those areas and say, hey, we need you guys to maybe look at this, because it is a major, between 287 and I-25, it's a major kind of transportation area. So the other thing I want to ask about is, I had Commissioner Ashley Stoltzman up for our talk on fire mitigation and stories and strategies. And, she was the mayor during the Marshall Fire. And one thing she talked about was most heartbreaking was people losing so many pets because they couldn't get home, they couldn't get to them. They didn't have a plan about how their neighbors could grab their pets too. And I haven't heard anything about pets with this training, because even if they're talking to their neighbor or someone close to maybe know how to get in and get the pet or something, I didn't know if this is part of that resiliency or some of this training, or maybe I missed it, maybe you talked about it, but I know there's still a lot of folks that, since I have my daughter and other friends had neighbors who lost their homes and their pets. I've heard the stories, I've talked to them, I've traveled through those neighborhoods and saw that devastation. I'm just curious, what are we doing? Because we also have, in some of these rural areas, horses and things, and maybe the posse and other people can't get up there, but how can we help with that portion of it too? Or is that part of this training and the neighborhood thing? And maybe you already talked about it and I missed it, so.
No, you're good. The pet preparedness is a part of Module 1, and within that, we do talk about strategies and ways to start conversations about how to hand off your pets or have someone have a key to your house. Also, we often partner with the Larimer Humane Society, and they've given us a ton of resources on what they specifically recommend as like kind of the pet preparedness guidelines with the Humane Society, especially with them partnering with the Red Cross and how that process goes with sheltering and what to expect when you do evacuate with your pets. So we definitely have not forgotten about pets within Dare to Prepare. I have Snowball, my dog. He actually is a disabled dog with IVDD, and I have specifically taken the long lengths to make sure that my neighbor and I have had long conversations on how exactly she has to evacuate him, because he's not like all the other dogs. And so just that lived experience of mine, I'll be bringing that to the courses and actually talking through about what I did to help prepare at my household. And I, again, not to hone back on, but I feel like these lived experiences and stories do so much better than here's a checklist. And so the goal, Lori and I definitely, as a lot with her experiences, to try to build as much stories and speaking activities into this than like just checklists, rinse, wash, repeat what they've always gotten. But thank you, definitely bringing it up has not been forgotten. Pets are an incredibly important part of what Dare to Prepare is about.
Well, I'm not surprised, Camille, but now I want to meet Snowball, just to let you know. Okay, so let's proceed, because I know we have a tight timeline today, so I want to make sure, are we doing on that timeline, Lori?
Okay, so next up, I want to share a little bit about this resilience community assessment, the green and little tan handout. So this year, we're doing the second year of this annual community resilience assessment. Last year was the baseline that we did. And basically this year it was opened up in June of 15. So then it'll be open up until October 15th. So we wanted to open it this year for a little longer than last year. Last year we had it open for about 2.5 to 3 months. But this is an assessment that we're hoping to gauge the level of community resilience within Larimer County. But it looks at, it asks, so it's a survey that's in English and Spanish that's available online through our website and social media accounts from Larimer OEM and then also the county. But yeah, the assessment looks at, do people have, the social connections within their community? Do they have access to resources around emergencies? Are they signed up to notifications, or, do they have leadership opportunities within their community? A lot of what we do is trying to identify those community leaders and see how we can disperse information, right, and get people informed. But it also gets into the civic participation piece as well, about community culture. Do people feel like there's a sense of belonging within their community? But it's a little survey that it's going to help OEM improve the programs that we have and see how we can do this outreach, this preparedness presentations and workshops a little bit more effective, and then the programs that we have at Larimer OEM. But yeah, we're seeing how we can improve from the input that we received last year. And then we have on our website, larimer.org/emergency, we have some of the outcomes that, that we heard from last year, some of the themes, and then what we're doing to improve those things. So we wanted to make sure to share those back with the community, not just kind of ask for feedback and then not present any of the steps that are taken from that feedback. So on our website, we have some of the outcomes that we've worked on as an office now that we had kind of that first baseline year to hear from the community, and then we're going to keep doing that yearly. So then, yeah, in September, we're going to have 3 resilience community conversations to help provide the in-person opportunity for folks to provide some feedback on this survey. But that was something that we heard last year from some of the feedback is people would have liked a little bit of that in-person, chance to learn more about who we are, what we do as emergency management, and what we're really trying to accomplish with this resilience assessment. So, we've partnered with the 3 libraries in Fort Collins, Estes Park, and Loveland for these resilience community conversations. And then we've also invited the local emergency management folks from each of the municipalities to attend. And so that the community that shows up to these conversations gets an idea of what the local emergency management agencies and folks are, and then that way we can provide that in-person kind of facilitated conversation opportunity to hear back from folks. But yeah, if there's any ideas from the board on how to share this out widely, we're more than, we have our ears ready for any feedback that you might have.
We're going to push it out a lot in September.
Well, and I shared it at a community conversation I had up in Estes Park with the North End people and shared the website and the survey. And
Awesome.
So that was about 40 people. So I'm trying to do that wherever I'm going. I'll share it on my community conversation or my Common Grounds coffee on Saturday. Commissioner Cafalas, did you have your hand up, sir?
Yes. Can you come up to Red Feather Lakes on September 28th for our regular community conversation? We could have this as a theme.
Okay.
I think I'm checking now, I think that's the September 28th, 12 to 1:30.
I think we could have some.
You guys, you don't have to
Yeah,
decide
yeah.
now, but I'd like to put it on your
Okay.
radar, and if it's possible, yes.
What time again, sorry?
12 to 1:30, our monthly meeting up there most of the time. And I don't think we have a topic at this point.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you for your consideration.
Yeah.
Commissioner Stevens, do you have any comments or questions? Okay. Super excited. I think this is great. And I will try to at least pop in and hear some of these things. And I'm wondering, for next year, the future years, if you want to kind of plan with us ahead of time to maybe combine our community conversation or have a commissioner be at the end to ask questions or try to build on that, not to overshare your thing, but maybe we could be at their end to ask more questions just to support you. Because if we're having community conversations and you have this event, maybe we can combine these things and amplify that so we can showcase the partnership and the collaboration and kind of help, get more things. And if you want to try to get some more exposure in Berthoud, let me know. I have some. That library's a cool space. Cool. My mom was born east of Berthoud in a farmhouse, so great. Well, any other things you'd like to add?
So I think just following that, we just have a few events that we want to share, some dates about some of the things that are happening in September. I think Camille's going to share the first one.
So my favorite festival of the entire year is coming up. The Risk Canyon Mountain Festival is coming up on September 9th, and Cole and I will be there at the same exact time is the 10-year anniversary flood event that's happening. So we're kind of split. All of OEM will be out at events that day, but that is my favorite one coming up. And then on September 22nd in Estes, Aries is partnering with the Estes Library there to have an emergency services preparedness event from 1 to 3. They invited me with OEM. I think they invited emergency services. So just going to kind of come up there and have a conversation about what we do and how we interact with Aries and how Aries interacts with the library. The library is one of the hubs, and that's something we've been working out, is the ability to activate Aries upon, loss of communication. And you mentioned the Berthoud Library. The Berthoud Library is one of our hubs too. So Amy Pila up there is fantastic. I love her. So yeah, that's some of the bigger events that's happening, at least that I am participating in during Preparedness Month in September. And then Ricardo and I are both doing Hero Fest, but Hero Fest has kind of become Ricardo's baby here, so I'm just going to kind of let him explain that.
Oh, yeah, we've both been heavily involved. So the Office of Emergency Management used to do this Preparedness Expo every year. And last year we did this Family Preparedness and Safety fair at the ranch. But we figured out that there was other efforts going around for preparedness events, one of them being Hero Fest from Canvas Credit Union. So last year, Canvas Credit Union put together Hero Fest in Fort Collins for Northern Colorado. But we unified efforts for this year so that we can put the planning efforts and then fair and preparedness event energy together to just create one that's bigger and a little bit more collaboration within the first responders of Northern Colorado. But that's the other handout you see on September 23rd on the Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So there's going to be lots of festivities. Camille's going to have the tie-dyeing and some of the kids' activities going on there. But there'll be emergency vehicles for folks and family to tour. It'll be free and open to the public. Canvas Credit Union has been organizing a lot of this event, obviously, since some of the fundraising that they're putting together goes directly into first responders of Northern Colorado. They've been awesome in including us in the planning efforts for this cool event in September. But if you have any questions, there's that little flyer. But we've been planning it for a few months with some of the partners around. So we're hoping to have a good time at that piece too. And then the last one was on September 30th. We're partnering with Windsor, the town of Windsor, to do a How to Prepare for Everything for the community. So that'll be at the Community Event Center in Windsor. And then Camille and I are going to facilitate this How to Prepare for Everything workshop. To just get people to start planning for disruptions rather than disasters. And that workshop is very conversation based with folks that attend the workshop. So Camille and I will be facilitating the conversation, but the gist of that workshop is the folks that get to talk to each other and meet their neighbors and think of practical solutions for disasters and plan for those disruptions. So that's the last piece.
And where's that at and what time?
So that's in the morning. It's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Windsor Community Event Center
Okay.
on September 30th on Saturday.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great work. Sounds like some exciting things for the Emergency Preparedness Month. So.
Yeah, so one more preparedness thing that I do want to talk to you guys about. I don't know if we've talked to you about this before. Do you know? So Cole's going to talk to you guys about the Integrated Emergency Management Curriculum at the Emergency Management Institute in Maryland.
All right. So earlier this year, Larimer County, we actually put in an application to FEMA for to be one of the participants of their Integrated Emergency Management course, which is a few days worth of coursework, but also mostly exercise. And there's, I think, if I'm remembering right, FEMA does 11 of these courses per year. It picks 11 communities, and only 4 of those get to go out to Emmitsburg, Maryland, to do it there. So Larimer County was chosen to do the exercise and be able to go out to Emmitsburg. We did this, I think Larimer County was in 2009.
It was well before my time.
Yeah, I don't know. Not we, obviously, but Larimer County, we. So Larimer County did do the EMC before and did go out to Maryland, and it was, and did a blizzard as the scenario for the.
They had a blizzard.
Oh, they had a blizzard?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So Larimer County as a whole community went out there, and this happens all the time, but while they were out there was a blizzard here in Larimer County, and they ended up managing it from Emmitsburg, Maryland. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So maybe, well, actually, I don't want to even say that. Never mind. I'm not gonna even say
no.
anything. But yeah, so we were chosen as one of the communities that gets to go out there. So our date is August 19th through I think 22nd or 23rd of 2024. And we just had a meeting this week with FEMA, and we will begin engaging partners very soon. And it's going to be kind of a joint thing between a lot of the communities of Larimer County, with a big emphasis on Larimer County, Fort Collins, Loveland. And then some of our other partners, hopefully to pull in some other community volunteer organizations, our response agencies, even some other municipal partners. So we want to have a huge focus on policy and coordination, especially between the different municipalities. So that's what we're going to focus on a lot. And so we'll be doing a bunch of updates for you guys, but we're going to start that. We have a kickoff meeting to start the planning for the coursework, but also the exercises here really soon. So that's something exciting that's coming our way in 2024.
So we'll make sure we get that
Congratulations.
on your guys' calendar with Lorenda as well, to find out which commissioners, if any, want to come with us to Emmitsburg. But it's usually, we'll have probably about 25 people from from Larimer County alone, and then Fort Collins and Loveland will have 75 total that end up going out there. But it is a really good event. It's a good time to really focus in on how do we solve some of these, considerations. We chose policy because we're talking a lot about that right now. We have the policy group exercise coming up. So just really talk about how we deal with things when it's a multi-jurisdictional event, and how do we ensure that we're speaking with one voice and coordinating so that the community members are best served. So hopefully you guys are excited about that, but yeah, Cole's going to be running that process for us.
Not only have we had a lot of transition, here at the county, obviously the commissioners, as well as the sheriff and the folks that went out to Maryland before are not here anymore. Same thing with the municipalities. So it's a great time for us to do this. And then some of the best news about it is FEMA pays for all the travel. And so we don't have to, that won't come out of county budget or anything like that. And there's also, it's a campus, so there's pretty small cost associated with the event.
Wow, that's exciting. I'm super excited to hear it, and congratulations. So is that your full presentation? Anything else?
The only other thing is the next time that we meet with you guys, I'm probably going to be coming with finance. I've been working with Lori and Laura and me, Lori. We've all been working on Fund 105 to really figure out between all of our different disasters, where are we currently at? Do we have any leeway anywhere? That would allow us to also tell you if we're getting requests for, future mitigation or something else, do we have any of that money still available for those projects? So I think that our next meeting, we've done really the mitigation and restoration. We've done preparedness and resilience. I think we need to focus in on just talking with finance about where we're at and seeing how the Cameron Peak Fire Fund is doing, how the flood fund is doing, just to give you guys an update. So that was the last thing really I wanted to say, is we'll be ready for that at the next one.
Well, outstanding presentation, lots of great news, things to celebrate. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Koufalis.
Just to say thank you. I appreciate all the excellent work, collaboration. It's important.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, just echo my thanks on the work that you're doing. Really excited about some of the events that you've prepared for Preparedness Month. There seem to be a lot, so that's great, but it sounds like you guys are used to taking your show on the road anyway. So, yeah, thank you for all the work that you're doing to keep the community prepared and connected, and just really grateful for that. And it's too bad that we all are feeling like we have to split our times between Risk Canyon and the flood commemoration. So, I mean, sometimes life is just like that, but I hope to attend some of the events that you've highlighted here. And just, as I'm sure you'll report back after the assessment and some of the outreach you do. So looking forward to hearing those.
Yeah, our performance measures are based upon this assessment in a part of it, so you guys will definitely get a briefing on that. And then Trek the Thompson is also on September 9th, so Josh is going to that one before he goes to our commemoration.
All right.
So we're trying to cover everything that's on the 9th.
Ben, I did not make that connection, dang it.
Yeah, and then Ricardo and Camille will be back before you guys on Tuesday for the Preparedness Month proclamation, which we do each year.
Great, and maybe we'll highlight some of those events to the
Yeah, that would
public
be
as
great.
well for the hordes of people that are listening in. And we'll do our best to kind of push out some of these events, on our end as well, because I think it's extremely important that people know how to be prepared, and there's a self-confidence that comes with that helps you act in a moment that's not, that's very uncomfortable. And so I think that the more we have folks prepared, the better off we are in those kind of circumstances. Luckily, it's been it feels like it's been a slow time for, but yeah, I know, I guess. I'm not superstitious, so I'm not going to knock, but yeah, it's always around the bend, so I appreciate that. And yeah, congratulations on being picked as a community to go to the FEMA program, and certainly hope that nothing happens while you're gone. Exactly. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, well done, exciting, and I'm very bummed that two of my favorite events, I love going to Trek to Thompson every year, and I pulled out my Wrist Canyon T-shirts, just hoping I could figure this out, how to get there, because I bought T-shirts every year, and so please let them know we're sorry we can't be there. I actually just made a phone call to about Big Thompson, the Trek to Thompson one, before I got here today. But this is a really important thing on the 9th, and so really important to all gather. But just want to say, well done. Lorena, did you want to add anything? This is some pretty outstanding and lots of great work and a
And lots
busy
of
month.
energy. I don't know how you managed to have a team. Sure. Okay. The ideas you all have come up with, the excitement you've created around preparation is really key to its success. This 7-week Dare to Prepare sounds like a lot of fun. I think the word will spread that it's a good thing to do as a community, and so I hope that you have a waiting list of folks who want to go through this kind of thing. It's not surprising you've got this kind of energy, because what you do is rewarding every single day whenever you look out there in the community and you see the work you do. So, and Lauren, the financial work is critical. That's what the finance team would tell me, that you've come up to speed so quickly, and this was not what you anticipated when you joined the team, and you've just hit the ground running and really become the expert in this Fund 105. So thank you for that too.
Well, with that, at 3:18, just want to say outstanding team, Lori, and kudos to all of you. Just you blow me away every time. I'm so impressed. But at 3:18, we are adjourned.